So tonight I've got a call with Mikaela from California, who sounds like she's working in a preschool classroom and aspiring to find her own center. The hope is tonight that I can give her some ideas to help her narrow down some things to really consider when trying to find the perfect location to open up her own childcare center. She says she's a little bit picky. Good for you, girl, because you need to be. There's so many factors to consider. So I'm sorry about the camera angle for this video. However, the content was so great, I wasn't gonna toss it or try to reshoot it. This call that I had with Mikaela last night was just fantastic and full of so many great gems. We talked about location, grants, we talked about finance, leasing type of scenarios, licensing capacities, all kinds of this stuff. So if any of that interests you, hit that like button and subscribe now. But also we talked about Brian Dupree's book, Childcare Millionaire. And I'm gonna put the link to that book in this video. As I sent one copy to Mikaela here just this morning. So anyway, I hope you like this video. Don't mind the angle of this shot. Here we go, let's roll.
We'll manage that better than you can.
They haven't managed it so far, but you know, that's another topic.
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Rogers, my kindergarten teacher.
Yeah. I totally thought you were actually talking about Mr. Rogers.
It's time for you to go learn how to share a toy. And
exactly.
Right?
Like, oh, right. No, none of us can do anything if our kids don't have childcare.
Then this is the channel for you. It's pretty cool, huh?
Old Adobe School, this is Mikaela.
Hi, Mikaela. This is Kirk with Childcare Biz Consulting. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Are you still at work?
Sorry, I am still at work, yeah.
Yeah, 'tis the life of a preschool teacher, right?
Yeah, it's never ending.
All right. Sounds great. Do you need a few minutes to transition out of work or some time?
No, you know what? I'm just leaving the playground, so I am all good.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Wonderful. Well, hey, glad to connect with you tonight.
Yeah.
And so can you tell me where you're at in this journey of trying to find a location and how soon you're hoping to make that next step? Maybe we could start.
Yeah, sure. So I'm currently the director of a program, but I've been trying to start my own, leave here and start my own. I guess where I'm at is that I'm kind of getting held up on just finding a location, you know, like as far as dealing with licensing and getting the program set up and kind of doing all of that. I'm pretty solid. I know how to do that.
Right.
But, you know, it's not like I can just go look at a bunch of storefronts or restaurants or things like that, and that's usually what's available. It's just like such a specific location type, and I'm just really struggling. That's kind of my biggest roadblock.
Right.
Is just finding the location. So that's where I'm at in the process. I mean, I don't have like a really strict timeline. You know, I can kind of be here at my current program kind of indefinitely, honestly. They're not kicking me out at all. They'd prefer that I stay as long as possible. But, you know, I'd kind of like to have a location and kind of start this process by the end of the year.
Okay. So January 1, good goal. How long have you been at that current program?
I've been here almost 8 years.
And how long have you been in early childhood care?
So just over 10.
Okay. And how long in the current position that you're in right now?
So as the director, I took over in 2017, so we're going on about 4 years.
Got it. All right. And how big of a facility are you in now? What's the license capacity?
Yeah, so license capacity is 40 children. We have 3 classrooms. We don't have 40 children currently enrolled just because of COVID, but traditionally 40 students per day, and we usually, with part-time schedules and things like that, I usually had around probably 50 to 60 families enrolled in total.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to pick if the perfect facility showed up tomorrow and I said, Mikaela, hey, call George, because George and Emily are looking to step out and they're looking for someone to take over in whatever capacity you wanted, what size of facility would that look like?
Size and like square footage, or are you talking about like how many classrooms?
Yeah, capacity. Do you think 40 is your sweet spot, or do you want to double? Have you worked in other facilities where they are larger? How many kids would you like to have under your ownership?
So I guess this is like this kind of 40 families has really been my sweet spot so far. Yeah. But I've worked in smaller programs and I've worked in larger programs. I haven't managed other programs of different sizes. So, I guess as far as my management style goes, I'm the most comfortable with probably the 30 to 60 range.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm not against something that's bigger, or even something that has just potential to get bigger as the program develops a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. So my sweet spot has been 75. Most of our programs that we run at an optimum capacity at 75. One's licensed for 76, one's licensed for 86. So like you have your comfort zone. I could do bigger, and I think I know I have the ability to do bigger, but I love the sweet spot because it's familiar. So 40 is familiar, but if you've been in that capacity for 4 years, you could probably step up to double that size if you needed to.
Yeah.
Okay. And all right, so I want to make sure that I answer as many of your questions and thoughts, needs, topics, concerns that I can. The first thing you said was location, and you mentioned, well, the ones that are available are like restaurants and storefronts and retail, and the cost of converting that over into a preschool childcare program is enormous, and oftentimes is way too big. So I'm not sure where exactly you're located, but for a second, it's irrelevant. Have you? So the first few things I would ask you is, have you been talking to other childcare centers around you? Because as much as we all love our business, we are all imagining this beautiful exit strategy at some point.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would be doing is talking to childcare centers around you, whether by phone or by letter. You could, if I did an interview with Brian Dupree. I don't know if you saw that. He was the author of Childcare Millionaire. And he talked about acquiring centers and sending out a letter that says, hey, if you are potentially interested or willing to consider selling your program or your facility, I would love to speak with you. I would absolutely, if you're hungry for that next facility, I would absolutely do that. Draft that letter and find as many facilities within the amount of driving distance that you would be willing to travel from your home, and I would send them. And one of the things you mentioned in your email was that you're picky.
I definitely am, but I guess, I don't know. I guess I'm so lucky in the program that I have right now, and I've been able to kind of turn it into what I want it to be, that, going and seeing, some of the locations that I've gone to see, I'm just like, no, this isn't going to work. No.
Yep. Understand. So my point in bringing up the fact that you said I'm being picky can be the difference between, working 40, 50, 60 hours a week and making 30 and 50 grand, or putting in the same effort making 80,000 to 150,000.
Right.
That's the difference between picky.
Right.
Because I can read between the lines, right? So picky is important because you want to look at your demographics, right? I'm in a market right now where our low-income families make up about 25% of our enrollment. But just worked with another owner across the county from me today, and we looked at a facility that that is going to be probably 80% low-income households. And it doesn't mean that can't be cash flow positive, but and it's not a bad facility. It's pretty interesting and pretty exciting, but you just got to know what you're going into. And funny side note is that my wife actually worked at that facility when I met her 18 years ago.
Oh. Wow.
So that was kind of fun. Today. But picky is good. And you mentioned restaurants and storefronts, and that would be the absolute last thing I would look for. So I'd be trying to look for a center that's looking for an exit. And if I was looking for an exit today, I would never put a for sale sign on the front in the driveway. So you never know. So it doesn't matter how nice they are or how successful they are. I would knock their door, I would give them a call, or I would send them a letter and just say, hey, I'm looking. I'm absolutely looking. So that was great advice for Brian Dupree, and that's where I'd start.
So then what would that letter entail? Just kind of like, hey, I'm looking if you're ready to be done working, what?
Right?
Yeah, what else could be included in that?
All right, so if I received a letter from somebody, and I'd love to get a letter, because both of my businesses are for sale right now, and nobody knows that. I only say that because for the right price, for the right number, I would walk, right?
Right.
If we could sail off into the future, into retirement.
Yeah, sure.
So I would look for things like, hi, my name is Mikaela. I've been working in early childhood for the last 10 years. I've been working as a director in our current program, licensed for 40 children for the last 4 years. And I'm absolutely committed to our industry and serving children in my local community. I am looking to move into ownership of a child care center. I'm reaching out because just in case you are looking for a potential exit plan, exit strategy, or maybe in the back of your mind you're thinking, maybe it's time to move on. So whether you might be interested in selling your business, the building, or maybe leasing the business, I would be open to conversation on any of those topics. Thank you for getting this far down in my letter. I would love to entertain a phone call or even an email conversation to begin with. Here's my contact information.
Right.
I might start with something like that. If I got that letter and I was at that point where I was looking to change gears, that would catch my attention.
Sure. Okay.
Now, did you write all that down? Did you capture all that?
I did. Yes, I did.
You're not on
I'm
the
a documentary. No, I'm not. I am not. I made it inside.
When Kim and I opened our first center, I had a business that I've been involved with for many years, but we were cash flow negative. So we opened our center, and when we opened our business account, I had $100 to put in that business account. And we were hungry. I met her 18 years ago, as I mentioned. We got married 6 months later. And I said, babe, what do you want to do? And she goes, I've always wanted to have my own center. And I said, okay. And so we started off on this mission of going, okay, we started drawing blueprints and all these kind of things, started talking to people. And 6 months later, 5 months later, a phone call came in from her previous employer. and said, hey, we have an option to get back into one of our old centers. Would you be interested in it being yours? We'll create, help you with financing of equipment. You can do a lease option. And so that's how we started. So I don't know what you have saved up, but whether it's 0 or 50,000, there's so many different ways to get into this business. I think because if you've been in the business for 10 years, you've seen directors and owners in burnout mode. You've seen them thriving, and it's just an up and down cycle, right? So it's just a matter of the right person getting that letter. If you've worked for previous employers that you think right now are on an extra 10 or 15 or 20-year plan, I would reach out to them. I mean, if you left on great terms, I would walk in and just have a conversation with them or just give them a phone call. You never know. Even if they're, potentially franchisees owners.
Yeah, that was actually going to be another question of mine, because in the area that I'm in right now, I just feel like there's a lot of almost kind of like corporate preschools going on. So, we have Head Starts, which is, different, but we have quite a few kinder care locations and things of that nature, Learning Tree, that kind of stuff. And it seems to me that Learning Tree and kinder care specifically have kind of gone around and bought up a bunch of the little smaller centers, which, they tend to do. But obviously I'm not going to go in and be able to run kinder care or Learning Tree, and that wouldn't be what I want anyways. That's
you want to be your own boss. You don't want to work for somebody else.
Yeah, of course. So I guess that's the question that I would have. How do I find those little guys?
Well, so maybe you don't call on Learning Tree or kinder care because they're in growth mode, right? They're in acquisition mode. I would love to be in a market where I've got a big franchise looking to acquire me. So maybe I would look for, the next center that they think they're going to acquire, and I'd go grab it up. Now you may not be
underneath them.
What's that?
Scoop it out from underneath them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I would make sure they get a letter from you before they get a letter from corporate. We're in a market in Western Colorado, in Mesa County specifically, that is the Head Start programs, the federal government is gobbling up large child care centers. Yeah. And they're spitting them out. So the center I went to today was gobbled up by a year and a half ago as a Head Start program, and they shut it down 6 months ago, and now it's for lease. So, where there's growth, there's opportunity. And if you have time and you're picky and selective, which is wise, just be ready for that opportunity. It sounds like you want to be in a center, maybe 60 to, I'm just going to put 60 to 8 or 40 to 80 out there as your comfort zone. And so I would, you could, maybe you get online, if you haven't already, and look up licensed child care centers in your area, within a 30-minute or 45-minute drive, and go through that list and go, here's the 2 franchises that you mentioned before, and here's some that look like mom and pop, and reach out to them. Right. Okay, let me change gears. I think you've mentioned that you're working with licensing, but they're kind of like, when you find a facility, call me back.
Yeah, you just can't do very much until you actually have that address, you have that location. So that's, I've kind of hit that kind of block of, well, we need an address. Right. We can't really do anything. We can't license you until we have that.
Yeah. And I don't know what your local licensing specialists look like, what their what the communication is, what their incentives are. I can tell you, in our local economy, in the last 3 to 4 years, our county acquired the license contract from the state of Colorado to manage our childcare. So they've taken over licensing. Our county's taken over health. They've recently, this month, taken over our local partnerships for children and families. They want it all, and they are on this mission to grow childcare availability in our local market. So they're hungry.
Right.
I don't know if your local area is hungry for really trying to get behind and promote the growth of childcare centers. If you're lucky enough to be in a hungry market, they want individuals like you to go out there and open other childcare centers. And I say that to say this, they're also aware of childcare centers that are struggling. Now, from a confidentiality standpoint, I can't imagine they would tell you who they are. However, I would want to make sure I've bent their ear and said, you know, my name's Mikaela, and I am interested in opening a center. So if you are aware of a center that is needing an exit or closing their doors, I would love the opportunity to reach out to that owner and possibly, you know, see if there's a way that I could either purchase their business or take over so that, why? So that the families in our community don't lose that continuity of care.
Don't lose there. Yeah.
Right? That's what your county should be interested in, that, because if people have good child care, then people can go to work. And then that's good for the local economy.
Yeah. I guess out here in California, we're in kind of a strange, I don't know, you know, since COVID, there's been like this new refound appreciation for childcare that was, you know,
right?
Like, oh, right. No, none of us can do anything if our kids don't have childcare. So we actually, our governor is kind of on a mission right now to extend transitional kindergarten to include not just 4.5-year-olds, but all 4-year-olds, which, you know, kind of in theory, for those of us who don't know child development, sounds great because, you know, it's free, it's public school, and I'm getting my kid into public school sooner. But, you know, developmentally, I don't see it as being a smart move to put a bunch of 4-year-olds into a kindergarten classroom, number one. But number two, from a business standpoint, you know, taking all the 4-year-olds out of preschool is a pretty substantial cut to business. And, you know, taking on infants and toddlers to accommodate that loss of 4-year-olds, infants and toddlers just aren't cost effective. So, you know, there's that kind of aspect that I've kind of been throwing around as well. So I guess kind of going back to what you were saying, I mean, we're definitely seeing kind of a hunger for childcare and appreciation for childcare, but it kind of seems like our governor wants to take that in a different direction that doesn't necessarily include, you know, preschool centers and childcare centers, kind of wants to adapt it into a more government-run elementary school.
Right.
All right, I hope you enjoyed some of that customization that we did. Make sure you follow the link below to the treasure chest. You can subscribe to the channel, hit the like, all that good stuff. Appreciate you. Enjoy the journey.